Picture the classic advertising copywriter, a lone genius sitting at a typewriter, staring at a blank page until a brilliant slogan magically pops into their head, typing it out and calling it a day. In reality, writing the actual text is more like stirring the pot in a busy kitchen. If you haven't sourced the right ingredients, prepped your station, and chopped the vegetables, whatever you're cooking is going to fall flat. If you don't know exactly who is sitting at the table, you end up with a disastrous tone mismatch. Take the audience for a traditional Rabindra Sangeet album. The cultural expectations, vocabulary, and emotional triggers require a highly specific, formal language register. Try using that same formal tone to write promotional material for the K-pop group BTS, and you'll instantly alienate their younger fan base. The messaging has to align with the demographics. To see how this prep work actually functions, let's walk through a 5-step campaign lifecycle. We'll use a hypothetical new business. Let's call it Good Morning Bakery, launching in the highly competitive city of Kolkata. Effective copywriting relies entirely on a deliberate, invisible architecture built long before you type a single word. The first step is mapping the environment. Before drafting anything for Good Morning Bakery, you have to look at established local rivals to see what types of products and pricing structures already dominate the neighborhood. You are looking for a gap in the market. That gap becomes your unique selling proposition, or USP, the single internal advantage your product has that the competition ignores. This competitor matrix shows exactly where that gap lives. While traditional local bakeries cluster around standard sweet cakes, Good Morning Bakery pivots to fill the void with sugar-free cakes made from organic ingredients, targeting health-conscious younger buyers. If you skip securing that strategic position first, the most persuasive writing in the world will just get lost in an overcrowded market of identical claims. Once you have your core message, it has to physically adapt to the technical constraints of where it's going to live. If you're putting an ad on a highway billboard, your audience is passing by at 60 kilometers an hour. That reading window demands ultra-short text and a heavy reliance on visual focus. Put that same campaign on a digital feed, and the rules change. You're fighting fast-scrolling behaviors and algorithms, meaning you need bite-sized, hook-driven captions to stop a user's thumb instantly. A brilliant story is completely useless if its structure violates these spatial limits or reading behavior of the platform it sits on. Throughout this adaptation, the brand still has to sound like itself. You establish a consistent personality so the bakery feels authentic across every single touchpoint. Then come the legal guardrails. Comparative advertising laws mean you can't just write a headline explicitly naming and disparaging the rival bakery down the street. When you look back at vintage advertising on historic street corners like this one, brands operated with far fewer restrictions. Today, you navigate a tight web of strict social guidelines, shifting ethical standards, and strict legal compliance. These strict rules act as essential filters. They keep the campaign legally safe while ensuring the message remains emotionally resonant rather than offensive. Even a legally compliant, perfectly targeted script can't exist in isolation. The finalized text has to dynamically balance with the typography and imagery. If a serious headline sits over a whimsical background, the emotional weight fractures. And when the campaign finally launches, the writing process isn't over. Hitting publish is just the start of a dynamic data cycle. This split-screen tracking visualizes real-time performance data. By monitoring click-through rates on 2 different call-to-action phrases simultaneously, you see how live users respond. Whichever phrase drives the highest engagement becomes the winning metric, forcing you to push the most optimized version out. Digital copywriting is an ongoing loop of constant testing, analyzing the data, and refining the text. It is never a static document that you write and immediately forget. This means the copywriter acts as a hybrid researcher, legal reviewer, and data analyst, turning dials until the pieces click perfectly into alignment. This diagnostic checklist outlines the strict criteria that must be verified before launch, confirming the audience, defining the USP, adapting to the channels, clearing compliance, and planning for optimization. The actual readable words that make it to the final advertisement are just the visible tip of an enormous, unseen strategic structure. Mastering this complete preparation cycle is what separates amateur writing from a precision strategy that successfully drives human behavior.